This is a discussion about Reach's technology, how it's been used in a couple of the marketplaces that we've done projects for. Now, if you look real quickly in the top left of this diagram, you'll see that it's any user from home through the internet with this technology can control physical devices, physical machines. I'm going to show you some examples of those machines in this conversation. This one's a fun one. So this first one is an inspection-grade submarine that we applied our technology to, and we allowed anyone on the internet to control this submarine inside an aquarium with live aquatic life. So from the internet, they could control this submarine and look down the mouth of a shark, and they could look and explore in this underwater world all of the species of the tank, which is really a unique experience, because if you think about it, if you go to the aquarium, if you fly to the aquarium, you can't jump in the tank. It's a very unique experience that's made possible only by this technology of physical interaction through the internet. I'm going to go kind of quickly because there's a lot to cover, but I just want to give you a broad spectrum of ideas and things that we have done, which just showcases the capability of this technology. And you think about sold-out concerts, sold-out shows, and sold-out venues. This one is a concert as an example, but we can provide the internet user the ability to be inside the venue even if it's sold out or even if they're geographically separated, and we give them physical presence by letting them control things on stage, a t-shirt cannon that they can shoot to the crowd, for example, or glitter or fog machines or any interactivity that we want, or even the ability to just zoom in on the guitar player while he's doing a solo. If you're a big fan of the band, it's a unique experience that's only provided by this type of real-time physical interactive capability. And if you just think about how that can be used, you can sell the same seat 200 times in a show for people across the world and across the web. We did a very fun gaming experience that takes gaming into the next evolution. Right, we go from Pong to Nintendo to Xbox 360 with this fantasy graphic animation world into the real world. And what we did here is we allowed people to control a gun. It was a paintball gun filled with rubber bullets, and we had actors on a stage that were trying to accomplish a task in a certain time frame. It was the goal of the online users to prevent that actor from accomplishing his task. It was fun, it was a cute, interactive experience, but it just took it from fantasy to real world by controlling machines and real live interaction feedback. There's a lot of applications to be done with this, but it's just an idea, another idea of how we're using it and how this technology is being used. And in more pragmatic senses, we've done projects with the Health Sciences Department at Boise State University, and this was fun because I got to learn something in the process. And that was, if we have experts from an expert brain surgeon from New York, for example, if they fly him in to help a junior surgeon on a procedure, they're paying for his expertise. And there's costs to flying him in, there's per diem, there's costs involved. But I didn't know this. If the surgeon's not licensed in the state that just flew him there, they're not allowed to touch the patient anyway, by law. All they can do is say, cut here, suture that. They can point out and give verbal direction, but they can't, by law, touch the patient. So what this technology does is allow that expert to provide his expertise from anywhere in the world without leaving his desk. And so we just bridge that gap of time, and we allow that experience of the doctor's expertise to be broadcast anywhere with physical interaction and physical expertise. The same university, a different department, is using our technology in a textile realm, and they have an R&D lab that applies heat and applies wind to certain blends of textiles to measure the rate of heat dissipation. The important part with that is we allow anybody to physically participate in the experiment. They can apply the heat lamps, they can apply the wind tunnels, and they can do the measurements from Florida, from California, wherever they may be. We give them physical presence, and that can be used in any multinational company, any R&D lab. It provides physical interactive ability right there. I even used it at my wedding, my personal wedding. So I've been to, through work and through travels, I've been to 48 countries, and we all our friends can't all fly from everywhere to attend our ceremony. So what we did is we allowed them to control the camera, of course, take online photos, but we gave them the other ability to control things at the venue. And in our case, we had a mirrored ball that they could shine and spin. They had lights that surrounded the dance floor, so every time it was lighting up, we knew our friends from across the globe were there with us. We had bubble machines behind the head table that would just cascade bubbles behind. It was really fun and interactive, but it allowed our friends from around the world who couldn't fly to be there with us. And in fact, when my wife and I got to our suite that night, we opened up the web page and we looked, and we had an online photo album of pictures taken exclusively by our friends and family who were not there. It was just a really, really fun thing for us to do. And in my opinion, every wedding venue in the planet should have this technology. If you've seen anything on Reachin's webpage, you've probably seen something about this interaction we have with cats and animals that are up for adoption at sanctuaries. I chuckle a little bit because this thing has just hit a chord, and it's been televised in 23 countries, and we've had millions of, anyway, it's gone just really gangbusters. But it's been useful for the shelters as a whole. So what it is from the internet we allow people to control toys at the sanctuaries for the animals that are up for adoption. And so there's 3 toys around the room, and anyone on the web can physically control the toys and get to know the animals that are available to be adopted. Now that has impacted greatly in terms of, just the pragmatic numbers of adoptions. They've gone up 60%. Donations to the facilities have gone up 300%. Phenomenal marketing tool for them. And we even had graduate research done on our company, and this was a large portion of it, in terms of what does it mean to be present? What does it mean to be physically present? And the research was, had people online, and they began talking to the screen. Like, come on, get it, buddy. They talking to the screen as if they were there themselves. And so they would emote and physically gesture as if they were in the rooms themselves, which is interesting when you think about how we use computing, what it means to be distant, what it means to be present, and when we can physically interact in that environment, physically control things. It creates just a new emotion in us when we interact with our computers and devices. So tons of information on iPad Companion, but I want to show you something that's important here, and this is our Google Analytics metrics for that particular animal application. And the important part is the center of the screen. We have over 12.5 million users that have come from 226 countries and territories, and it's handled by 2 support people. And I only have 2 people supporting iPad Companion. So that should be a testament to the maturity of the technology that 2 people can handle 12 million customers. This was fun. So Friskies heard about our animal interaction. As I said, it got a ton of press. And they hired us for one of their promotional events. And it was at a movie studio down in Los Angeles, super fun, but they built this cat utopia, is what it was called, and they streamed it out to the web, and they had the project going for about 8 months in the planning stages, and then they learned about Reachin's technology. They called us and they said, hang on, we plan on broadcasting this for 2 weeks to promote our new animal food, but are you telling me the users don't just passively watch, that they can touch back? And if you think about marketing, that's kind of what marketing is. It's a company's effort to touch their audience, but this technology allows that audience to touch back. And they ended up purchasing before we hung up the phone because they realized it's a new way to use the web. It's a unique, for their purposes, it was a marketing tool, but it was a unique way that the internet can be used. A company called Kong did the same. They branded on our iPad Companion pages because they wanted to take advantage of all of the press and all of the traffic that was garnered by the websites. Another really fun one. So what you're looking at now is 2 cameras that are inside of a race car. They're mounted inside of a race car. And that right there is an image of our control box. It's what we build just to process our video. and it's inside the car. Now the problem statement with this is that there's professional drivers that need to train junior drivers, but these professionals can't fly to every venue and they can't be there. It's a big cost and it's a big time constraint. Excuse me. So what they were looking for was a real-time video that would allow the trainer to be in California while the race was happening in Atlanta, and they could communicate with the driver in real time and see how he was maneuvering across the track and see how he was maneuvering the gears. But a real-time video protocol didn't exist until Reach-In. And so if you see this video, what is happening is that's a real-time live shot of what is happening in the car and what is happening across the web. And it was an interesting challenge for us because we have an internet product. There's no internet connection in a car that's going around a track 200 miles an hour. So we had to develop a cellular bridge with which to connect our camera and control box to the web and distribute it still in real time. Fantastic, fun project. Another example is like a security. This is a security example. If you have, if you're performing a service that is monitoring maybe warehouses all throughout the country, several of them. This is an example of a management portal that we built for us internally and that we build for others, so they could go in and look at which region of the country they're in. They can expand that, and obviously control devices in the room, a spotlight if they need, and they can control the lights and look in areas that might be dark or low lit circumstances. Anyway, I put that slide there just to show an example of the management portal that we utilize. So those are examples of projects that we have already done, and here are a couple that we have quoted, and I wanted to mention them because they're interesting. And someone at the company called Ogilvy, they're an advertising firm, very large advertising firm. They saw our animal application in Oregon. And the guy, he just got it. He understood it. He said, that's just a motor that's being controlled. I wonder if this company can control other motors. And so they called, and he ran through a couple of ideas with us. And what he wanted to do, this is their creative, this is their imagery, is build a large claw machine. The things that we, as kids, we put a quarter in and you almost never get So they want to build a big one and put it in downtown Beijing and have people from all over the globe from their computers control this, and they would get prizes sent to them, iPads or phones or whatever the prizes we decided were. And it was just a way to one, use the internet in a new, innovative way, a different type of marketing tool for them, and just getting people to connect with their brands. So very fun. You can see in the bottom right, that's Ogilvy's image. They created that. Another one was Temptations, so Whiskas. Their marketing department contacted us and said, what you have is very interesting. You're getting a lot of traction around your animal applications. We'd like to do something creative with our Whiskas brand of Temptations. And so their idea was control this conveyor belt, section off a corner of their supply room where they make their goods, and have the users control the conveyor belt. If you see right here, these are hoppers, and they wanted online users to control the belt, move it to underneath one of the flavors, and control the lever, and move it down the line. And so what you really get at the end of it is the user creates their own unique blend of Temptations, and ta-da, at the end that gets shipped to them. And so they bring customers into their facility, let them physically control and make their own blend of Temptations. Kind of a neat thing. But again, it's unique. It's an innovation that we're trying to touch people with our marketing efforts, and this is an avenue to let them touch back. And this is my final example, but I like it because I love their engineering. This is Dyson, the vacuum cleaners, and they got a directive from their executives, so their marketing team, and they said, okay, we're coming out with the new brand, the new model of vacuum. Do something creative with digital. And that was it. And one of the gals was sitting there, and she said, I play with these cats online for the last couple of years, and I read the company's website. They said they can control really any machine and I wonder if they can control our vacuums. And the answer is yes. And the reason this is interesting is because they wanted to take some of their R&D line and give it to us and have us apply our technology to it. And this is really easy because these are on-off signals. And you can see here their machinery working. Very, very simple integration for us. These are discrete signals, on, off, no problem. And so that allows, similarly, again, people to control things in a unique and innovative way in real time. It gives them presence, physical presence inside the manufacturer's facility. These are just a few examples, and we think about, how can this be applied in medical? There's times when you need expertise, but possibly the doctor doesn't want to be there. You think of Ebola outbreaks or Zika. Expertise is needed, but the docs might not want to physically be in that environment. But if they can control a laser pointer and help the boots on the ground say, look at this, and especially when there's barriers of language to overcome, trying to figure out what the word, if they don't speak English very well or vice versa, you could just point and say that, cut that. Absolutely, absolutely powerful. And in many, many areas in the medical realm, this technology can be applied. Even in heart valve transplants, when you need, it's critical to have real-time interaction and real-time expertise and guidance. And our technology can provide that, does provide that. Education, I mentioned just super briefly, but it can change the definition of online education. Right? It's not a passive experience just watching pre-recorded videos. It's an interactive experience with physical capability. I can point, if I'm taking a class and I'm in Florida and the class is in Michigan, I can point to the board in Michigan and say, this X on the wall in this equation, I'm confused, where does it go? And there's 20 X's on the board. If I can point to it, that takes that communicative process down to nothing. I'm there. I just pointed it out. So we can use online education in a new way. It's another powerful module that can be added to it. Live TV and sports. Think about the Super Bowl, sold out completely. Our technology can sell that same seat 200 times with physical interactive capabilities. I mentioned a marketing tool using the internet in a new way. It's a phenomenally powerful marketing tool, and incidentally, that's where most of the income from ReachIn has come from. We developed it really for more pragmatic reasons of the medical and the education realm, but marketing has sort of got it a lot faster than other entities have. So super powerful. The gaming application, we go from fantasy to reality. Graphics and animation to no graphics or animation at all. It's a real world experience, real world. Consumer products. There's just thousands of examples here. I think Nest is a very popular one that people, just the general public, have adopted and they understand. I can control, a thermostat, and that has sort of creeped into the general consciousness of people, which is great. It's a wedge that allows the general population to understand this physical interactive capability through the web, and it can be used in millions and millions of products. The military. As a former Marine myself, I know exactly how beneficial this could be to have leaders being able to train their troops from the perspective of being downrange live fire and being able to physically interact with the troops advancing. There's a lot of examples where that could be useful. That's just one, but in the military it could be used very, very, very well. R&D. I alluded to it, the ability to have collaborations from companies or scientists from global companies physically conduct the experiments, physically be in the R&D lab without having to fly, without having to travel, lower the carbon footprint, saves on time, physically be there from anywhere. And I saved this Roku application for last because I just think it's really interesting. And there's no change to the technology. We can do it today. It's that if you know what a Roku is, it's a skin interface for your television set, and you can choose YouTube or Netflix. Anyway, it's just a remote control. But the good part about it is that the remote control has accelerometers inside. So if you're playing Angry Birds, for example, you can hold the button down and you can pull back the slingshot and you let it go and it can go off. Well, that accelerometer, if we lay our technology onto that as well, then that TV, that flat screen TV on your wall, is no longer a TV. It becomes a window into the other side of the world, to where that remote is controlling something on the other side of the planet in real time, whether that's a mechanical arm, whether it's anything, we're physically controlling it. And I think that's just phenomenal, because it changes the definition of what a TV even is with existing technology, with what we have today. So many applications for it, but I think that is very, very interesting. And so we built the technology in a way that we call it generic, because there's not a huge software effort to go from market to market. I gave you some brief examples, but it's a pretty wide swath of how it can be used. And I'm really trying to hone in on the idea that what we have isn't a product. It's not a piece of hardware that you buy, but it's a platform that can scale and can be applied to many business verticals. And I say generic code because we built it such that it could scale from, there's no software effort to go from medical to military or military to sports. We built it such that it can control any device. It's not tied to a certain device. Sort of our mantra is that if there is a motor or a button, we can start that motor or push that button from anywhere in the world. And the technology that does it is all the same. It's the same kernel. The only thing that changes is the front end skin, is the GUI. But the code itself doesn't change at all. And I want to reiterate that it's not a device. It is the framework. And what that framework looks like is, if you start on the left-hand side here, we have a video source. It's a camera. It could be an IP camera, USB, analog, doesn't matter. And next over is our control box, which runs our unit driver code, which is our proprietary code that we developed to run on a control box. Now, we're not particular about the hardware. It really doesn't matter. We can use from a PC all the way down to a Raspberry Pi. We don't really care what the hardware is that it runs on, so long that it has enough horsepower to run our code to process the video. And so that control box acts as an ingest for the video, and it shoots it out to the internet so people can see in real time the room that they're looking at. And it also is a receiver for the control commands for the people on the internet, whatever they're controlling in the room. It's housed in the cloud. We have a queuing function, so if there's 1,000 people that want to control it at the same time, we have to have an organized way with which to do that. But the point is, it's not a device. It's this whole platform together that gives us real-time remote presence. It's all of this together that gives us this ability. So again, it's not a device. It is that framework that allows for a remote presence. And I think of a device, I think of the Nest, and you can't take a Nest and put it in a passenger seat of a race car and have online trainings. Take that same hardware, put it next to an aquarium, and control a submarine. You can't do that. But with ours, you can. It is scalable. It is generic in terms of code. It doesn't matter the hardware that it runs on, but it works with this framework. And we've seen it in these examples I've given. We have demonstrations online. It is scalable, and it works. It's been working since 2010. So the rest of it is our technical overview. That is another module. I just wanted to use this time to show you some of the commercial applications that we've done, just to give you the tip of the iceberg of what is possible with this technology. Thanks.